Great, thank you, Annabelle, and thank you, Liv. I think it's ready to go. So hello, my name is Kazz Morohashi. I did my MA in Communication Design at NUA, and this was going a few years back, and I have returned since, working on my PhD there. I'm just thinking maybe like in the beginning, what I'll do is just kind of briefly introduce my actual practice. So a bit of disclaimer, I'm not necessarily a zine maker per se. I like to make zine as a way to process my ideas, test out some kind of stories. So for me, it's part of my sort of idea drafting practice. And so this was a great opportunity to share that with you. I'm actually an illustrator. I'm also a designer and work as a creative producer, which is really to bring some of the creative projects into fruition. I'm very much inspired by the ideas of play, the world of handicraft, like knitting or felting, embroideries, things like that. Like I'm really recently, I don't know if it's because of the pandemic, but things soft and fuzzy and comfortable, I've been very drawn to. And I'm also very inspired by the world of stop motion animation. Okay, so in terms of design and crafting, some of the projects I work on are things like this, where this is called Go Walkies, which is about taking these sort of 1-foot dog little sculptures, soft sculptures around museums and taking pictures of the dog going for a walk in cultural sites. And using that as a research tool to understand how visitors in museums or heritage sites connect and engage with the objects. I also make little videos when I can. I love doing these kind of things. This is a sort of a second phase of Go Walkies, which is about how to nurture conversations about art, which some can find a little bit difficult. You know, you talk about the color and I like this and that, but how do you make the conversations a bit richer and deeper? And this is a video I made called How to Woof About Art. And this little yellow dog character called Professor Wolf takes you on a sing-a-song journey through how to unpack an image and start discussing, thinking, start feeling, and then you'll be so eloquent talking about art by the end of the video. So please have a look if you can. It's on YouTube. But anyways, but today we're talking about zine. So zine is a very, very informal, oftentimes independently published booklet, often by a single person. It can manifest in all sorts of shapes, forms, sizes, quality. So it's not limited to a certain kind of visual type. But this is where I really like the zine, because it is that freedom within this kind of bound story, bound, book. And I think there are various ways to look at a zine. Once we start going, I think hopefully these will make sense, but there are different kind of types of how you create a story. Oftentimes we're very familiar with the idea of the narrative, a storyline presented with a beginning, a middle, and an end. So this one is at the NUA library. I really like this one, Nomads by Lizzie Stewart. And it talks about a group of schoolgirls and sort of their day after school, and they feel that they're nomads and they're exploring their city. Their city becomes their territory, and seeing how I think it says here, the boys have taken the playground, and where do they go? So it's about finding their place in the community that they live in. And it's kind of created in this almost quiet, simple way, but you can really tell the movements. And if you start looking at the images, on the left, you start with this pan shot, and then the nomad, the walking, the moving, the feet in the middle panel on the left page, it's a close-up, and it's kind of visually leading you into the story. So there are lots of different visual cues being played out on the pages. And the story is quite simple, but very, very poetic. Some zines can be very abstract in nature, and this is kind of an expression without being bound by the traditional narrative format. So it doesn't necessarily have a beginning, middle, and end. Maybe it does to the writer, but to the viewer, it can be viewed from any angle. And I think these are really useful way to looking at an idea, but not necessarily feeling like they need to work. Sometimes ideas are kind of messy, sporadic, and abstract way of capturing that is sometimes a very useful practice. And sometimes there is spectrum typology. This is an image from Gemma Correll. She is a graduate of NUA, and I love her work. She works in a particular area where she uses herself and her pug dog as almost a muse, but she particularly looks at her mental health as a theme oftentimes, but in a kind of a self-deprecating way, but also in a slightly hopeful way. So I really like her work a lot. In this example here, you know, she's taking one subject, stress. So what happens? How does stress kind of become, you know, how does it take over your life? So stress eating, stress napping, stress crafting, stress drawing. So you're looking at one thing and looking at different types of how a particular theme can manifest. And then the image on the right is about meditation, and, you know, one thing, meditation, and you're starting to look at what kind of thoughts come through your head when you're meditating. And I can definitely very well empathize with where her mind is going towards the end. It becomes a pizza. So yeah, that's a good one. Right, so quickly moving on, that's just kind of a very, very brief introduction about Zine. I don't know if I can go back. Yeah, I can. But I think we don't have an awful lot of time, because today I thought I'd really like for us to start making a small zine of your own. So what we're going to do is make a tiny, tiny 1A4 piece of paper made into a tiny booklet like so. I started mine, and let's kind of, get started on our own zine. Oh yeah, so Freddie, sorry, I have to apologize. I have a very sound reactive dog. His name is Freddie. I even did a zine about him. I will show you when he comes back, but he does bark. I'm very sorry. I'll try to keep it to a minimum, but I can't mute myself and while he's barking, because I guess I have to talk. Right. Going into the, zine. Brilliant. So what we need today, material-wise, is quite simple. I hope you have 2 pieces of A4 sheets of paper. I'd like you to take the first sheet, and what we're going to do is, initially, this is how I like to start. You can do any way you like, but, you know, for the sake of today's workshop, I thought we'd just sort of structure it around a very typical way that I work. So I like to initially kind of jot down a lot of notes, a lot of ideas, and just kind of cram it all on one single sheet. So this becomes really my map for what's to come. So I'd like you to begin by taking your piece of paper, and as you can tell from my accent, I'm from the States. And one thing I learned from the States is that they have certain names for folding paper. When you fold a paper in half, this is your hamburger fold. You fold it into kind of a squat shape, so right in the middle. The other one is a hot dog. But anyway, we're going to do a hamburger fold right in the middle. I'd like you to open the piece of paper. And as you see on the screen, we're going to start thinking about a theme you might want to consider for today's workshop. And please be kind to yourself. You know, thinking about a theme with a big blank, clean sheet of paper can be very, very intimidating for some. But we'll start breaking it down. Please draw a line right in the middle to kind of just visually break up that piece of paper. And at this point, I think I'm going to share my screen. Oh, wait. Hold on. I'll just try to share, but not pin. I hope you can see my hand and how my hand is working with the paper. Okay, so in your first sheet, on the left-hand side, sort of just draw a line right at the top where your theme might like to go. And then below that, we're gonna do kind of a mind mapping, but I like the word mind glitter because, and I'll explain in a second, I guess. But first, let's work on your theme. Your theme can be anything. And that could be a personal journey story. You know, would you like to sort of look at what's happening to you right now? Or could it be about a local or global concern? Maybe it is about the environment or what's happening in the news, or, you know, some of the things that you feel is beyond what is happening to you personally, but it concerns you. It can be things that you've observed or found interesting. Sometimes I love people watching. So, you know, it's always like, oh yeah, I like to just sit in a cafe and just draw the different kind of things people are wearing, or the kind of handbags they have, or the dogs they're carrying, or the body languages they have as they walk by. Some are very, you know, stern, and some are very just kind of crouched in. All those things. It would be really fun to kind of find the typology of people in the streets. If you're really stuck, one thing I really like to think about is, what is your pet peeve? And today for me, I am going to look at Freddie, because he is both a great little dog, but also a very problematic dog. So I thought, and sometimes I have to ask friends to look after him. So for a situation like that, I thought, oh, maybe it might be good to have a little booklet where I could give him and say, well, these are Freddie's little quirks, and document that, and I could give that to them. And so they're not surprised why he's reacting to certain things. So I'm going to give you another couple more minutes to think about it. Just write it down. Simple thing. Mine could be a day with Fred. So what is yours? And also, there will be sort of lull time, so please feel free to put any questions in the chat, and these will be a great time to start answering some of the questions you may have, and also things that, you know, I'm not explaining very well. Just feel free to just, yeah, call me out on those. Right. So hopefully you have something. It's a little bit weird for me to sort of talk into the void and not really know where you're at. So I'm very sorry you may feel rushed, but do please come back, and maybe as you go along, things will sort of slot into place. So although we're going from a beginning, middle, and end in this workshop, there's always points to just kind of come back and fill in the bits that you initially didn't know really had the answer for at the time. So we're moving into the second task, which is the mind glitter. And here, this is the bit where I asked sort of to leave the left-hand bulk of the page free. And we're going to take 5 minutes, and we're going to just start. Don't feel caged in, but just whatever the theme is, start writing your ideas down. So I'll show you, oops, my example. So my theme was Chihuahua days, and based on that theme, I just took 5 minutes and please start writing. Don't, you know, and just listen if you can, but just start putting down any words, images, ideas, anything that comes to your mind. It is almost like a glitter. Sometimes it just flashes and disappears. So just catch it and jot it down as you go. And we'll spend a few minutes doing that. So maybe, yeah, to 5 to 11, we'll stop. When I was doing this, it was really helpful for me to just start with something. So with Freddie, I just looked at him. He's sleeping. His legs are curled, his tails are curled, but his ears are perked, you know, and he then starts barking. And then I remember that he is a very nervous dog, so he shivers a lot, which worries me because his heart rate goes up. And does that mean, you know, he's going to like die of stress early? So, but he does eat. A lot of Chihuahuas are very fussy eaters, but he is okay. But he does like his gourmet bits of cheese and so forth. So things like, oh yeah, so he also sleeps in our bed, not only on our bed, but in the bed. He likes to be carried, he likes to be petted by me, but he hates to be petted or even said hello to by a stranger. Treats. Oh yeah, he has bad breath. Chihuahuas are very known for their very bad teeth. A lot of them, you'll see that they have to pull out their teeth towards the later years, and you have these Chihuahuas in Chihuahua nursery homes, you know, with tongues hanging out because all their teeth are gone and they can't keep their tongue in. Anyways, yeah, things that he reacts to: kids, bikes, men. Where he hates high-vis jacketed people. So hopefully you have lots. And sorry if I'm rambling and you can't concentrate. I'm American, I can't do lulls. I wish I could play music for you, but I can't.
And also, like I said, we put the Padlet board in. So if you're starting to have a page of work that's starting to get full of words and images, please do start to share them on the Padlet board and we can all look together. So yeah, Liv has just put that in the chat. So we'll have a look at that as well. Thanks, Kaz.
Thank you. Okay, so maybe a few more minutes, a couple more minutes, should we say? It'd be really interesting to hear as we go what kind of themes you're working on. So if you do have some already going, please pop them in the chat as well. And how do I look at the chat when I'm sharing a screen? Maybe I can't. Annabelle will tell me.
You should be able to just press the chat and then it will pop up as a separate pop-up, but
I have like mute, stop videos, security, participants, new share polls, remote control, more, maybe more. Is that it? Oh yeah, chat.
We've just got one person said, could you possibly flick through the PowerPoint from the beginning for inspiration?
Inspiration, yeah, maybe the other. Where's Freddie? He's under, he's under my desk. I'm trying to flick through. Oh, here we go. Wait, is it? Things like that.
And for the person who asked about when do we use the Padlet board, like I said, whenever you've got something visual that you want to share with the group, just take a picture and send it through. The Padlet board is very easy. There's just, if you go on the link, press the plus sign, you can upload very easily from your phone, just taking a picture. And yeah, great ideas. So I'm going to stay in the background.
Okay, are we sort of roughly good to move to the second phase? Just assuming a yes. Okay, so now we're going to work on the right-hand side of the folded paper. You could do it two ways. On the screen that I'm sharing, you see that I've done it in sort of 2 steps. So on the right side, on the bottom half, I have sort of marked out pages by alphabet numbers, A, B, C, D, E, F. What we're going to do is, so you'll find out as we go along, but the zine that we're making today will have essentially 8 pages, including the front cover and the back cover. So in terms of the content, you start with a layout that covers 2 pages, another 2 pages, another 2 pages. So 6 pages in total. And it's up to you how you want to play those pages. So you could either put A, B, C, D, E, F and just sort of make word-based kind of mapping, idea mapping, or you could draw these kind of rectangles. And I like to use dotted lines to denote where the fold is going to be. And then I'll kind of do like a very rough storyboard kind of sketch onto those little rectangles. So if you'd like to maybe so this might take about 10 minutes or so. You can spend as much as you like, but for this workshop, we'll spend about the next 10 minutes or so thinking about how would you like to break down, you know, what you have in your glitter box, and start to sort of see how those images, and sometimes it can be words. So for instance, I think you saw in Nick Berry's zine, he's a typographer, and he really wanted to look at how type would sit with each other, working at scale, working at contrast of very stark black and white against a kind of a petal rose pink, and how that would sit, and you know, pink and black, what kind of emotion that gives you. So he was really playing with just text on most of his pages, with text or typography that's working almost as visuals. So you know, you're not limited to just using images, but feel free to use text and image, combination of both. And also I went about it using each page as a separate kind of parameter. But sometimes, you know, you've seen in magazine, a spread, they use one image to splash across the whole entire screen. And that makes a particular statement too. So, you know, this is kind of a good place to play around with different ideas. So it could be that your story is actually not spread over, you know, A, B, C, D, E, F, 6 pages, but maybe it's 3 spreads that go across the 2 pages. I think I was, on my one, I was taking a very linear approach, narrative approach. So I was looking at, okay, well, what would be useful if I was to give this to a potential dog sitter? So maybe looking at the kind of from morning to evening, what can you expect for him to do? That was the idea. And also sometimes, I often like to leave the cover, the front cover and the back cover drawings as the last ones to work on. For me, sometimes, like, you know, when you're writing and the first sentence is the hardest one, and you can get writer's block because you just get sort of fixated on the best and the most powerful beginnings. So for the cover, I thought, well, you know what, maybe it'll come to me later. I'm not going to rush it. I'm not going to stress about it, but I'll let the story pretty much decide what kind of cover might work for me. So on this one, I thought, okay, well, you know, as simple as it sounds, it's about Freddie, so I'm going to make him the central feature. As I was making him a central feature, I thought, oh, well, he can just sort of sit in a roundel. Kind of like a portrait of him. It's nothing else but about him. So just looking at, oh, I'm working on self-love. That's great. I think that's so great in the way people act, speak, and dress around different parts of the world. That's fantastic. That's really, I love watching people. And in a way, you know, not trying to be pervy or anything, but I think watching people, you can find out a lot about who they are as a person. And I like trying to tap into that person through just observation. Can make a career out of that. I think profiling in the police is very much about looking at all these different traits, you know, and trying to understand the person, the mind within through the body. My theme is the current civil war in Ethiopia. Yeah, I think that's kind of, you know, sometimes like zines are so informal that there is this misconception that it's kind of too informal to address very serious world concerns, but I think it's much powerful than what people perceive them to be. And, you know, looking at certain difficult things that's hard to talk about or gets too graphic, sometimes breaking it down into a kind of a much more intimate portrayal helps distance, you know, the person from the rawness of things, but still be able to connect with the challenges. So it would be really interesting if, yeah, if you could put some work as you go along on the Padlet. My theme is my move to Norwich. Oh, Robin, where are you from? All great ideas. Yeah, I moved to Norwich 15 years ago. I'm still here. Mine's my fat cat. Yes. Yeah. Does it need to tell a story? It doesn't have to be a story in the kind of the traditional sense. It is, you know, it is a documentation. So if you think putting things down is a story to you, then it is a story, but it doesn't have to be that, you know, something happened and then there's this epic kind of climax point and then some sort of resolve at the end. It doesn't necessarily have to be that kind of trajectory. Prepping for September, can we use individual ideas in a zine or do we have to use a story only? No, any kind of ideas. Can be narrative, story, or it could be a theme like Freddie. It's not necessarily a story such. Hey, la, la, la. Well, thank you for all the comments. It's really nice to be able to look through them as you're working and my voice can drown. So we basically have to represent those pages into words as A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D is, well, basically I used alphabets because it doesn't, pagination, if you look at page 1, is not the actual store inside bits page 1, but page 1 would become kind of the cover in my mind. So not to confuse myself, the 6 panels that really forms the content of the zine, I just used A, B, C, D, E, F as a marker to remind me what might go on those pages. Hope that clarifies that question. Okay, so maybe about, how are we doing? Maybe a few more minutes. And then next stage is I will start making the physical zine. I need to make a zine with 8 pages about my pet. Nope, it can be any theme. My theme is the right girl movement. Awesome. I just came across a movement artist working on glitch feminism. Really interesting things about how we see glitches as negative, but actually they are the necessary components for innovation. So glitch feminism. Took my theme as my 2 favorite fishes. Yay! In the aquarium, Casper and Comet. That's a cool name for fishies. Okay, I will come back to these different themes. These are great, really, really, really great themes going on. Quarantine days, yes. Oh, I want to see everything. Oh, wow. Brilliant, guys. Thank you. Right. Okay. So hopefully you kind of have a rough idea of how you might want to sort of use those 6 content pages. So let's move into, and some of you may know this sort of format of a zine, but we will actually construct our own. Right. So the other sheet of A4 piece of paper, if you kind of hold it in a landscape format, and then I hope you can see the screen on my desk. And then we're going to fold it so the long way, so the hot dog way. And just put the 2 corners together. Yeah, and then just kind of make sure that crease is nice and crisp. And then we're going to take it and fold it hamburger way, so that the long sheet is we're folding long edges, short ends together. That makes sense. Yeah. So landscape, hot dog, landscape, hamburger. And then we're going to fold it again so that it forms Does that make sense? So landscape, long edge, landscape, short edge, and then short edge again. So when you open the page, you should have 8 panels. Yeah. What I like you to do is now fold the piece of paper. So if you have it landscape, fold it short edge, so hamburger fold. And we're going to, so I'd like you to hold on in your left hand if you're right-handed, vice versa if you're left-handed. In your left hand, if you're right-handed, hold the piece of paper where the 2 edges, the 2 open side. And now we're going to take your scissors, and then from the page, from the side that's folded, right in the middle, we're going to cut from the edge to the middle. Does that make sense? So from the edge, so we're making essentially a slit. And just stop when you come to the middle. Yeah. And when you open it, you should have a slit right in the middle. I'd like you to go back to the original fold of the long edges so that the slit and the fold is at the top. Take your 2 hands at the edge panels and just bring them together right into the middle. Hold the middle, and then you're just pretty much going to smush the pages so that they fold into one side. Did that work for you? Yeah. So this becomes 1/8 panels of an A4. Hopefully that worked for you. Okay. Right. Okay. So now you have your little zine we're going to work on today. I'd like you to bring back your page, your piece of paper with all your notes on it. And then pretty much now start kind of actually presenting those ideas onto the page panels. Yeah, so maybe this is going to be where the bulk of today will rest. So maybe, yeah, go ahead and let's spend the next 15-20 minutes starting to put your ideas onto paper. And so some tips for this section, I personally like to use a pencil, and it just means that, you know, I can just kind of go along with it and adjust things as I go. But if you're happy to go with pen or color or anything like that, by all means, please do so. What I like to do is go with pencil, then do the outlines in ink, and then color those areas in if I wanted to use colors. One tip about using pencils is, of course, you know, the lighter you press on the pencil, the easier and less sort of scoring will happen on the paper. So for instance, on my one, I decided to color the front later, but I don't know if you can see it on this. Maybe I could show you on here. What happened was that I pressed too hard when I was doing the sketch. So when I erased the lines and put the color pencil shade on, you can kind of tell that the paper does have a minor scoring. So, you know, I think I drew a star here and I erased it and went over with the color pencil, but you can still kind of see it coming through. You can use that to great effect. But if you didn't intend to have those things, then it's a little bit annoying to have things come through that you didn't want to come through.
Kazz, are you able to show us how to fold the paper into a zine again? Because we've had some people ask
Yep.
if you can demonstrate that again.
Okay, so we will take, so imagine if this was a sheet of paper. So you hold it landscape ways, and first you fold it half in long edge. And then we're going to fold it into this half, short halving, and another short halving. So it's pretty much to make the page into 8 sections. We then open the paper up, and instead of going long edge fold, we're going to go short edge folding. Are you with me so far? And then what we'll have is the open side is here, closed side is in one section. And we're gonna take your scissors, and cut from the closed side to the middle. So when you open the paper, you have a slit going right in the middle on the long edge. And then we fold back into its original sort of long fold. Hold the 2 edges, the slits on the top, and then we'll bring your hands together so everything meets. And you use one hand to hold everything and the other to sort of just cup it and push all the pages onto one side. Did that work? Let me know. I can do it again. Okay, so this is kind of a fun time when, I find like even doing the notes and then going to the page, I have, oh yeah, so this is my page where I started. So, so initially when I was sketching things out, I had how, Freddie's the last to get out of bed, and he growls if you try to get him out of the bed before you. And then I feed him, but yeah, he thinks I'm gonna steal his food, so he growls at me there. And then I think when I started to work on the pages, so the bottom here, so I kind of changed a little bit of the composition rather than sort of having my husband waking him up. I wanted to sort of show, okay, I'm kind of going, well, you're the last to get out, and how he's still lying in this bed, and he will literally use a pillow and duvet to make himself comfortable. And so there are a few compositional changes I've made, and I think this is very, very much part of doing, creating visual images. There's so many different ways to express it that, I don't like to feel tied down, and nor should you. If one thing you try it out and you think, oh, something doesn't feel comfortable or it doesn't sit right, how could I make it different? And so doing sketches are a great exercise to try to kind of push your thoughts, push your creativity. And it's really hard, when you're faced with a blank page, you feel like everything has to be perfect. But my lines are just all over the place, but for me, it's just a great way to map out ideas, use my hand to feel my way through. So a lot of times, drawing is not just a great exercise to get your mind onto paper, but also it's like training, like, you go into the gym, you work on your muscles. I sketch sometimes to be able to draw a straighter line or a more smooth line. So it's always, there's nothing wasted in these parts. You might think that, oh, I'm doing this like so many times, like writing down the words and then doing the sketches and then doing the sketching outlines and then inking. There are 4 stages, but actually they all serve independent as well as a kind of a unified purpose. So going back to the questions, it can be any theme. So I think I'm back to quarantine day. Yay. My theme is Native community. I visited a few days ago. Oh, I'm curious what Native community you visited. So nice. Only from St. Albans. Oh, I pass through St. Albans when I drive to Heathrow. I was thinking about doing one on Riot Girl too. Oh, popular theme, yay. I need to learn more about that. My theme is offline school days. Yeah. Hopefully it wasn't, hopefully your online school days was not very stressful for you. My theme will be, will be the different textiles used over the last 10 decades. Wow, cool. Over the last 10 decades, so last 100 years. Yeah, I think definitely in terms of, not only the materials, but texture, patterns, its use. There are all these new hybrid textiles, like textile that responds to your heartbeat or something. I think I've seen in one kind of art and science fair. My theme is my D&D campaign with my friends. D&D, is that design and, or?
I think it's a game, if I'm
okay.
Dragons, I think.
Okay.
Quote me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I think that's what D&D is.
Yeah, I don't play games, so tells you my age. Yes, it worked. Yes, yay, it worked. Oh, great. Okay, can you show it again, please? Yeah. Okay. Hopefully, Daniela, Tanishka, it worked for you this time. Yes. Oh, right. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not doing anything, am I, with the camera? Okay. Oh, yeah. Queer history. Cool. Day in the ballet studio. Wow. I would love to know, because I watch a lot of dancers on my reel and Instagram. It's so addicting. But yeah, how do they practice? Because some of the moves are just phenomenal, and the flexibility and the agility and the grace. Oh my God. My theme is community healthcare service. Wow. Oh, and then you can make copies and then give it to them, I think that'll be such a nice gift. I went for my 3 dogs and the trouble they caused me. Yeah, we should do like a zine swap, Bernice. Yeah, we should definitely do like terrible dog zine series. The Native community is called Ashaninkas in Peru. Wow. Oh gosh, are you in Peru? That's amazing. I'd love to learn what you observed, what you felt, what you learned, you know, what aspect inspired you. I think I'm going to do one about turning self-hate into inner love and happiness. Oh yeah. No, that's super, super important. If any of you are on Instagram, I have a very good artist friend called Mario Ibarra Jr. And I just put it in the chat, and he always has beautiful, wonderful comments about just not being bogged down by, you know, people, not being bogged down by your self worries. You know, don't see yourself, whatever that's happening, as a limitation, but how to turn that into a positive force. So definitely follow him because he's amazing. He's such an amazing guy. He's going through a hard time though, but he still manages to always pick himself up and bring others up with him, which I love about him. Dungeons and Dragons. Gosh, that's been around for ages. I think I think it's been around since I was like, was it on Atari first or something? Or Nintendo? I don't know. Okay. 3 dogs sound like a handful. My theme is my battle with time. Yes, time management. How do you do it? I did it on my hyperfixation. I think, yeah, all these are just, I'm just burning to see them. Oh my gosh. And it would be nice, Annabelle, wouldn't it, if we can get everybody's zine from today somehow, like, just captured. It's like you can build a library already from today. My theme is my cat. I love cats. I'm a bit allergic to them, but my neighbors fortunately have loads, so I get to stroke them and wash my hands. Can you insert pictures in anything? Yes, I mean, you know, don't feel like, you know, never ask the question, can you? You know, just do it. So yeah, like what happened when I made the cover was that by the time I got around to it, I realized, you know, I was coloring and all these lines were showing up from the pencil marks. So I decided, well, I wanted to make the thread really bold. So I just took some paper, colored paper, cut it with scissors, put glue, and stuck the letters on. Originally, zines, you know, zines are a genre, I guess, if you can, yeah, I guess you can say that, where it is by a single person, and oftentimes it you know, it never necessarily meant you were publishing a bulk. You weren't like making multiples. Of course, a lot of people do and did, but it could be almost like a sketchbooky kind of feel as well. So you could have like a one-off zine where people use like collage methods and would insert cut out pictures or photographs, borrowed images everywhere, and then writing over them. So it was really a free space to do, just to experiment, but within a certain kind of format that, you know, had a structure. Because I think you can have your sketchbooks and single off images, but of course you can then begin to, your mind starts to think differently when you're putting it and threading it as different pages, and it becomes a sort of a whole. For the queer history one, here's a fun fact. Even though people tend to assume Latin America is anti-LGBT, Argentina has some of, if not the most pro-LGBTQ laws in the world. Oh wow, I didn't know that. Thank you. My theme is 7 scenes of Southwold Beach, and the final image is Sizewell Power Station. Wow. Think local history, isn't it? And landmarks. My theme is getting food in an apocalypse. Oh, yeah, what is edible when things have gone a bit belly up? My theme is time to draw. Yeah, you can run the next one. Yay. My theme is based around one of the characters from my comic. Yay. Oh, also happens to be a cat. Ooh, there's a cat theme going on. I think the dog people are outnumbered here. Oh my gosh. That's great. We need like people who talk about rats or something to know what I want to do. Oh, is this what you want to do in here or more broadly, Ira? Everyone who has cats, tell them I love them. Okay, so I think we're sort of getting there in terms of time. Once you have finished, I hope, sorry, I chatted too much, but you know, feel free to start filling in your lines, start the coloring process. I sort of started mine in that I was beginning to ink them, as you see in the shared slide here. So, you know, I think we're going to kind of see where people are at, and maybe in the next I'll do a few more minutes, about 5 more minutes of you kind of getting to where you kind of want to be at that stage. And if you do have camera or something, please take a picture and share that on Padlet, because it'd be really nice to see. Well, nice to see for me, you know, I'm very interested. But also to see how much we all managed, you know, in a very short period of time together. So I'm not happy with my thumbnails. Don't worry, that's why it's called thumbnails. You know, yeah, it's really, they are, nothing is meant to be fixed, firmed, and, you know, headed for the museum or anything like that. It is very much a personal space. That's how I like to look at it. But yeah, because I think it is, I don't, you know, especially when I started making little booklets and zines, it's almost like, yeah, you need to deprogram your mind in thinking that I need to get it right. And there are all these like other examples, and, you know, what you see in zine pop-up shops or in libraries or other places, it feels, you only see the finished product and you don't see the process. And so that gap between where you're beginning to take that journey and see things that are out there, it is really intimidating. It is really it almost stops you. But you know, so I think that's why sketching is always fun and a good exercise. I nowadays buy the cheapest sketchbook. Sometimes I'll take reams of A4 paper, like the one that you use for copying and things, because I found that that's the cheapest way to get a lot of just white pieces of paper, fold them in half, staple in the middle, or sometimes I don't even staple them. I think A4, this whole sheet size is a bit too big for me to sketch. I find it filling this is intimidating. So I usually cut it down so that it's actually an A5 size. And I have a clipboard. I keep it near my desk, and whenever I'm stuck with something, I'll just doodle on it. It's not even a sketch. It's just a kind of a doodle, just to sort of get ideas on. And then, Lord behold, you have like a little collection of ideas that just kind of came while you're trying to do something else, or like came when you were trying to figure something out, and they become a nice resource to tap into, as well as reflect on things that, you know, are working, things that might not be working or you don't like after all. So yeah, loads of things that, you know, I'm unhappy with. To be honest, I'm not really happy with the way I did the drawing inside the zine that you see here on the 8:30, you know, when he's waking up. I feel that Freddie is really, he's not like muscular like that. And I don't know, it just, everything kind of went wrong, but I kind of used an ink and it's there. So hey ho, you know, it is what it is for this time. Maybe I'll do another one. So yeah, I should have caught that at the pencil stage, but it's okay. I'll make another one if it bothers me a lot. but I'll keep it as is and then move on to the next page and see what turns out. Yeah, right. So I think we'll slowly kind of, I don't expect you to finish everything today, but please do try to finish it when after this, or if you can spare a bit more time to do that, because it's such a nice little thing to be able to have in your hand. I like the size. It's very intimate. It's such a nice way to get into somebody's thoughts, but yeah, how are we doing? Just a reminder of the Padlet. Thank you, Liv. Where can we publish zines? Well, to be honest, you can publish zine out of your printer, and I think that's the beauty about it. So publication that you see that you buy in stores and things like that, usually you could self-publish. So self-publishing you can do, and there are lots of companies to do that for you, so that you do the content work, and then the publishers, the self-publishing company will print it. Some will help distribute it, and things like that. And then you have publishers like the big ones you see, like Random House and so forth, where they will obviously, commission you or pay you royalties or both. And they take your work, and they will have designers to lay it out. They will have editors and proofreaders to make sure that there's no typos or grammatical errors. They'll have cover artists to work on your work. And, you get nice little intros and so forth. And what you often see are these ISBN numbers, which like, you can technically buy. So a lot of self-publishers, they buy, I think 10 is cheaper than buying one per unit price. But yeah, with ISBN numbers, you can publish it, and publishers or like Amazon and places, it becomes a serial number dedicated to your specific book that people can look up and purchase later, or see where more copies can be gained. But zines are very much, if I go back to the first picture. So this is a zine seller in Japan, and they just have all these contributors making their own zines. So as you can tell, I don't know if you see my mouse, but on the very low left-hand corner, it's a pretty polished, almost slick magazine-like publication that they went for, to something that's hung on the wall, which can be fairly simple, to color. And there are different printing ways to, you can go very expensive and, plush printing to very almost like newspapery quality. So it's such a wide range that you print it, you bind it, it's published. Hooray. Okay. Yeah, so like this one, it's, very simple. The paper is nothing, like really extravagant. I think thick enough where the ink on the other page isn't bleeding through, or you can see through. So something a bit with weight, so that you don't have interference with opposite, the back page coming through to the front side. So this is quite simple too. Right, I hope we have people put stuff on Padlet. I'm hoping some yes. But okay, so I'd like to kind of wrap up the session by looking at some of the ways in which a zine might be, interesting way to carry on with your creative ideas and practice. So here, I just thought some points to take away, maybe step back from your work, and let's consider, what theme did I pursue? Maybe ask yourself why that was important to you. And also, how did I break that down into 6 compositions? So you have 6 panel pages, but did you use all 6, or did you use a spread? Did you break up the page into even smaller bits? So one, I don't know if you can tell, but I'll pointed out, I don't know if you can see, one page I decided to split it even further into like diagonal and make 2 images on a page. So you could try something like that. Can I make this into a series? And I think, you know, even in the chat, it could be that like the dog people and the cat people can get together and make their own little mini series about dogs and cats. Who knows, you know? So it's just a kind of an informal way to start like collaborating with other friends, other artists, other creatives. What other themes can I explore? So again, you know, going back to your mind glitter and your theme ideas, when you were starting to work on this, were there other ideas that you thought, oh, actually, okay. Because in a way, you could even make a bunch of these as a template and sort of just have this as like kind of almost as a post-it, you know, you can kind of go, well, here's my Chihuahua one. I might just have another sheet of this where I want to work on, you know, the current Afghan crisis, because a lot of the things aren't sitting well with me, and I want to understand where are my values, what are the international values, what are, you know, the political values. And so those can be kind of compartmentalized into a single sheet that you can always come back to and pick up. And I think, you know, loose leaf sheets are, I find useful because they get lost, but you know, they're a great way to just plot out ideas without feeling like you need a series of good good filing system, which I'm not very good at. Can I try making one with someone in particular in mind? So like a dog sitter in mind, or maybe it's somebody's birthday. Can I make a zine for that person? And what would that be? How would I tell the story? You know, it's always about how to construct what's in here into something others can connect with. How about, you know, what if you create a diary in this format? Try documenting what you encounter day to day. And I think, you know, you can go beyond that, in that doing a zine might seem like a fun kind of casual exercise, but, you know, I think you can really, it'll be really useful if you're really interested in illustration, communication design, things like architecture, documenting different architectural features or things that you feel that architecture can do to do more to the way we live and we move around space. Graphic design, fashion, like I think one of us was looking at, or culture, fine art. You know, if you're going into fine art, you're always looking at certain themes and trying to explore ways of expression. So in a kind of a short exercise way, just letting your ideas flow. I find that doing zines can be very helpful. And it's not just for you, but you can show it to others where they can understand your thought process as well. Not just within an image, but seeing the process of how you develop that idea. So hopefully this kind of helps in that, you know, it's not only fun, but also a way to kind of develop, a way to say something, a way to communicate, whatever field you might be interested in. So I'll close with that, but I think I should also quickly, briefly mention that, you know, this time we worked on a kind of one-off handmade one, but a lot of people will, of course, use digital images. So I made tiny little penguin series, little zine booklets, and these are kind of like your self-help gone wrong a little bit booklets that I've made. And this was just for me to practice how to tell one theme and, you know, what are the significance of that theme through little mischievous penguins. And I would draw these on my tablet. I use Procreate to make that. And then because of the shape and size, and I wasn't sort of thinking properly, I would throw that into software. I use InDesign, Adobe InDesign, to kind of just put them in the page where it will be once cut up and stapled together to make tiny little books. And so I have a friend who I message, you know, write letters to, and I can pop one of these in, which kind of is a fun thing to just send to a friend. But so these would be kind of the way a lot of people will work in terms of getting more than a one-off out. Some people would pretty much work on this and then open it up. You have a whole one A4 sheet, put it in a scanner, scan it, and then print it, put this, cut the slot back into each printed copies, and then fold it and then sell it like that. So you can make this one as your main one, scan it, print it, cut it, fold it, and then you can have many more of the same one. So you could go about it either way. But yeah, anyways, I really hope this was of some use, of some interest to you. But thank you very much for sharing this journey with me today. It's a little bit of a shame that I can't really like see you or talk to you in person or in voice, and because I always really like to. I learn as much from everyone in the room as as much as I'd like to try to be helpful. So thank you very much. But if you have any questions, we've got about 15 minutes. Annabelle?
Yes. So,
Sorry.
so what I'll do now is just say my closing statement, and then we'll move on for some questions to Kazz. There was one question from someone about maybe sharing a scan where you have someone with their hand up. So I don't know if that's about using the Padlet board, but I can see a lot of you have, so that's great. Thank you. Please do keep sending them through. So that might be something to look at, Kazz, when we've got the questions, if you get the Padlet board up, because lots of people have shared their work. So if you aren't sure how to use the Padlet, you just click the link that was sent in the chat, and then like I said, there's a plus button at the bottom, and then you should be able to upload your work, and then us on the back side of it will approve it. But if you have any more questions about that, please do send that into the chat for a minute. So right, before we look at that, I just want to remind you that we have a wide range of workshops across the summer school, and you'll be able to access these through the recordings of the past sessions, or why not join us for the live event. So these cover a huge range of practices, from embroidery for clothing with Mia Sylvia, directing frame to frame, and even skills from promoting drag culture with drag guru Liv. All our workshops are designed to give you an insight into a lot of different areas that your creativity could take you, and suggest the many different jobs that exist in the creative sector. So if you haven't already, you can book your place on our website, and we will send you a link in the chat. And we're also offering you the opportunity to receive an official NUA certificate, which is great to talk about in any UCAS personal statement you might be putting together. So to get hold of one of these certificates, you'll need to attend 6 of the 12 workshops, and we would like to see outcomes from at least 3 of those workshops. So please be aware that any work that you may submit may be used for future promotional information for the series. But please do send these outcomes via email. So anything that you send in the Padlet won't be submitted. So you do need to send the outcomes to the email student.recruitment@nua.ac.uk, and that will be sent in the chat to you as well. So we also really want to see what you're making throughout this series. So do tag us in any photos of your workshop outcomes on Instagram. So these are at NUA Outreach and at takeyourplace_HE, and we'll be sharing some of our favourite pieces throughout the series. Also, each week we'll be giving away a Chili's bottle, a NUA branded one. So all you have to do to be in a chance of winning this is to complete our feedback form. We'll be sending you via the email at the end of each week. So there are lots of chances to win. So to close, thank you very much, Kazz, for running this workshop today. We can see that we've got lots to talk about now on our Padlet board, but we're going to just send a number of links in the chat, and that will be, like I said, to book it onto more workshops, some helpful resources, and some information about Kazz, and anything like that. So I can see that another person raised their hand as well. So if I just look in the chat, I think Liv might be answering the questions in behind. So if you have any more questions, please do. Also, if you have any questions for Kazz as well, please put them in the chat. Like I said, I'm sorry, I'm just going to, do you have a question, Kazz? Yeah.
Yeah, like these are great. Holy cow. I'm wondering, like, maybe we could like do like a zine swap or something, you know? Yeah, if anybody would like to like scan their zines once they're finished, I can scan mine or send you one of my penguin ones and we could swap. It's an option. I don't know what with like, what do you call privacy and stuff. Maybe it needs to go through you, Annabelle. But
Yeah, it would probably we'd have to maybe go through our email address, student.recruitment, just because we can't share our personal information. So maybe think about that afterwards. So yeah, any queries about that, please just send us an email. But yeah, it's been great to see the work on the Padlet. Like, I can keep seeing, we can keep improving. And here is the dog, the famous dog.
Oh my God!
Friday.
So pretty. It is.
I'm sure everyone's happy now. Oh, lots of love for the doggy. But if you keep refreshing that page, Kazz, more will come up. Because we're just approving them in the background. So
wow, Satan's off his gun. Oh my gosh, I am so impressed and I'm so happy. Oh, wow. So queer, yeah. I love the nostrils and kind of, isn't that dramatic? You know, the way we see things. It's like we're so fixated and seeing things from our eye level, but like kind of looking up into somebody's nostrils, it's very convincing. And then all your notes. Brilliant. An aquarium. Wow. I wonder, like, if anybody had sort of trouble, what was the hardest step when you were doing this, or what part did you want more time? Just out of curiosity. Oh, Freddie, you're getting a lot of likes. How do we access past some sessions? Yeah.
we have some great work. We're still approving, so please do keep refreshing. Look, we've got lots of work coming through now. So thank you everyone for sharing your work with us. It's really great to see. Oh yeah, we had someone saying that I had trouble coming up with a theme, but to be fair, if we had more time, and the storyline kind of changed and that was quite difficult, and having a broad topic. Yeah, it is quite hard with narrative, isn't it? Like, I've done illustration myself, so sometimes when you don't have a lot of time and you pick a really broad theme, then there's so many things you can do. Whereas being so specific, has like with your, literally the day of your, you know, Freddie, that's really easy because you can pinpoint those specific points.
It's, I think for the exercise, that's always a hard one, especially when you walk into a room, you know, it's kind of like people will have, like at a meeting, they'll say, oh, let's do an icebreaker and, you know, tell us about your biggest achievement or something. And you're like, complete blank. And it's not to say that, you know, you don't have one or anything, but it is hard. And I always feel that, yeah, kind of the white blank piece of paper is the most horrible, intimidating space sometimes.
Yeah.
But once you find a corner to begin, then you know you can find your way through. But so for like pet peeve is a really good one, because most people will have something that bothers them. And it's, you know, we come to a world where we kind of want everything to be perfect, but actually imperfections are great places to understand the way we are. So, you know, not only are you being able to list the things that kind of bug you, but you kind of begin to think, well, why is that person doing this thing, you know, anyways? And it's just a place to start engaging with things that you might not spend much time thinking about. So yeah, but I mean, it seems like once people kind of got that idea going, it was, it seems like you couldn't even stop anybody, you know?
Well, I have a question about zines that's come through from a student. They said, are zines different than short comics that we can find on Instagram?
I think zines ultimately are printed. You know, so if the comic then becomes printed and is folded in such a way that it works as a pagination, I guess the comics would become part of the zine. I don't think it's, the boundaries are very strict, that there are lots of overlaps. So if, for instance, people are working on poetry and, you know, is that a zine? If it's printed over pages and so forth. There isn't a strict, at least, you know, in my understanding, and please somebody correct me if I'm mistaken, but it feels that it is really just an expression of ideas using image and or words that is in a printed format. So a zine can be a comic, a zine can be a short story, a zine can be, you know, I think it's kind of like that. That answer the question.
Yeah, but if anyone does have any more questions, please do put them in the chat. Yeah, there's absolutely loads of work flooding in now.
Yeah.
It's really great to see.
Oh, they're coming up on the top. Duh. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that. The patterns. That's really, it's almost like sketchbook, isn't it? Like you can use it as a sketchbook, but keep it, you know, your thoughts in a contained way, like here. Yeah, I think maybe like sometimes I feel like I should fold paper like this and stick it in my wallet. And then when I'm at a cafe or whatever, waiting for somebody, I could just use this as a small sketchbook rather than, you know, lug around a sketchbook. I like the chocolate. Ooh, scenes of Southwold. Beach huts. The Satan's Office Guide. I'm very curious. And the fish. That's nice. Nice layout, guys. My quarantine zine. Yay. Oh, wow. I like the coffee one where it's like me on a permanent state, drinking coffee but never waking up. Wow. That's so cool. Can't see, maybe I'll move this. Oh. Yeah, please post on Instagram too. Like with the penguin ones, I started doing the penguin ones because I was working on a big project and it was on the computer, and it was something where, yeah, I just didn't have time to draw or sketch or anything. And it was such a long process that I just wanted short little things where I can feel the sense of achievement at the end of the day. So then that's why I thought, oh, okay, I think what I'll do is I'll choose a theme a week and do a drawing a day. And at the end of the week, I'll have like a little printable thing. And so the penguin guide to whatever started to kind of form. And I think in the end, you know, I must have worked on it for like 8 weeks or 2 months or 3 months or something. And I had a nice little collection of things. Obviously, you know, and also it just meant that I could post something on Instagram and feel a sense of achievement. You know, every day I'd have like a penguin drawing that I could post. So yeah, it was just a useful way to just spend some time unwinding after a day to draw. It was a productive time. It felt like a productive time because there was something I could mush together to form something at the end. And then it became useful because it was just such a fun little thing that I could then also post to friends, and, you know, and yeah, it just became a very easy way to have something to give to people. So it started off as a way to just move my hand, and just a very short exercise to have. It's kind of like brushing your teeth, you know? Like sometimes things just don't happen and it can feel frustrating, and like your teeth, if you don't brush your teeth every day, by the time something happens, it's going to be pretty big. But if you brush your teeth every day, then, you know, you're always kind of ready to smile. So yeah, consider it as a little treat to yourself that you do to keep you going strong. I would like to know from which country majority of students come from. How do you do that, Annabelle? Do you know?
I would say if people want to share where they're from, they're more than welcome in the chat to say where they are in the world at the moment. Oh, and we've got, here it comes. Oh, we can see that.
Yeah. Wow. Good. Oh, wow.
Also, someone said they would like to see some pictures of your penguin scene. Can you send us pics of your penguin? Don't know if
Yeah, they're the easiest way is on Instagram because they're all sort of on there.
you can share your Instagram handle in the chat, and then everyone can see it.
Oh, it says, how long is the Padlet accessible after this finishes?
We don't plan on taking it down for quite a while, in all honesty. We don't really have a time span for when it's expired, so please do keep it going at the moment. Oh, and Liv has put a thing, so you can also save and export the Padlet board as a PDF. So if you save, obviously make sure you keep this link, then you can do that. So you're free to download it that way. That's really good. Thank you, Liv. And yeah, it was really great to see we've got people all over the world today participating and dialed in. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Lovely. Okay then, well, I think it's probably a natural time to close the session. So thank you again, Kazz, for today. It's great to see everyone's work in the Padlet board. And we've got lots of thank yous coming through now. So
thank you, everyone, for dialing in and taking, you know, time of your day to do something experimental, but hopefully it was fun. And thank you, Annabelle and Liz, for running this, because I had great fun.
That's great. Lovely. Okay then, so what we'll do is we'll now finish the session. So Liv, if you can do that when you're ready. So thank you, everyone.